Sandra, I've got a couple questions because you said currently he does half days, which is in his IEP, split between school and his current ABA therapist. Sounds like to me, though, his ABA therapist is private, and that is something that you're paying for, your insurance is paying for. But yet the school has a BCBA that they contract with, but not necessarily with your son. And what I want to know is, why is your child on half days? Is your child on half days because of his behavior? And so therefore they're saying that he can only go half days, and then, you go take him, or was that something that was mutually determined? The concern is this: if they're contracting with a behavior analyst, then no, you don't really have the latitude at this point to sit there and dictate that yours is brought in. Okay, it's just not how that works. As long as the school system is contracting with the professional that can meet those needs, then you don't get to dictate who it is. It's just one of the things, inside the law. We parents have very little input when it comes to, the kind of professional that is contracted with, employee issues, staffing, those kind of things. I mean, just those are called administrative. They're just administrative issues. Now, there's many times when I will get involved and I will sort of dictate or tell the school system that we need to bring in a different behavior analyst, or even if they employ their own inside the school system, I'll still ask that the school go and contract with a third party outside. Now, why can I do that, or what is the justification that I present to the school? And that is that they had their at-bat. They had their opportunity. They did not use the professionals that were available. They did not contract with the ABA company that they currently have for your child. So because they had those opportunities and failed to implement them or utilize them on behalf of your child, and if that was part of the contributing factor as to why your child's on half days and then you have to sit there and spend the other half in private services, then at that point, yeah, they're in deep doo-doo. They should have done that. The IEP team should have looked at your son's full needs holistically and served those, including using the peer-reviewed, scientifically known therapies and treatments for autism, which, is ABA. So if they're not providing ABA within his IEP program, and then giving you permission even to cut his days in half in order for you to go get that outside, no, that's not how free and appropriate public education works. So that's another conundrum. I'd like to know whether this half-day thing, was your idea, part of some prescription, or whether it was sort of forced upon you by the team because of how your child's behavioral concerns or deficits are manifest inside the school, to the point where it was just sort of decided for you. And then you were looking for, therapy to fill the rest of the void. I don't know whether your goal is to have him back at a full day eventually, or if that's sort of what the school is saying. Well, let's, because you said that you've gone through many IEP meetings, and it sounds like to me that they're, looking at the data and they're sort of, it's like, it's just not ripe enough, or it's not done enough, and then just keeps you on this cycle, and not really going anywhere tangible with it. The big concern with a child receiving therapy outside of the environment where the behavior is occurring is that, especially if it's autism, Down syndrome, there's a couple areas to where, you know, the generalization can be limited depending on the environment where, I mean, I've got many kids. My kid was one of those as well. That was a great therapy kid, but then had difficulty transferring those skills and generalizing them across multiple settings, including the home. So I just, you know, it could be a situation to where your child is not generalizing necessarily the skills that they're learning in private to be able to generalize and apply them over to this environment, and especially if they're behavioral based. The other problem is this: if your child having behavior in this environment, then there should have been a functional behavior assessment done within this environment to understand the functions of the behavior, because it's very possible that the reason your child thrives and does well over here is because these people are trained and these people know what they're doing. And the reason that they can't translate these skills and have them replicated over here is because you have, let's say, an incompetent staff or one that is not trained and therefore trigger your child and don't know how to work with your child. So this has to work in conjunction with this. And yes, this plan and whoever these people are that know your child the best, quite frankly, should be the ones to do this. But like I told you, that's just not how the law's written. But they should, at the very least, have the BCBA that they are contracting with heavily involved with your child's program, and then collaborating with your private so that everybody's on the same page, so that there's generalization across these two environments. I mean, you know, provide a little bit more information, but, you know, at the same time, if you keep running into some roadblocks and obstacles, I think you're down south in Alabama. You know, call me, Alabama. It's a joke. That was Shannara's. I shouldn't be using that. But, you know, we are here to help if you need us.